Like and subscribe right now to always be this relaxed. What glamorized career path is actually a complete nightmare? Ballet dancer. Parents spend tens of thousands, or more, on training. They give up their entire teen years and schooling. Most elite ballet dancers are homeschooled and a large percentage move away from home for training in high school. Most dancers you see on stage in a ballet are paying to be there. The bottom rungs of ballet companies are paid to play. Then when you have paid to dance a few years, you might be able to get a position that pays you with a dozen pairs of point shoes and a stipend for performances. Then maybe you'll be promoted to the bottom level where you get paid $20,000 a year and have no health insurance, all while putting your body through major torture. I wanted to be a ballet dancer so bad, and was on the verge of making it into a major company, but my teacher gave me a talk that made me quit. I was sad at the time, but despite how much I love dance, living like that would have killed me. Chef. Long hours, hitty environment, nothing is ever good enough. I have a friend who's a very successful chef. He always told me, if you love cooking, just cook for friends. Been in the business for 12 years. In the US, 8-hour days and paid overtime. In UK, I'm working 60-hour weeks, 13-hour days, on salary with no overtime. My personal life has taken a nosedive and so has my health. The only time I have to go to the gym, a hobby I loved, is after midnight after working all day. I don't get scheduled breaks, and if I get a chance to eat, I'm shoving fries into my mouth. For those who are interested in becoming a chef, it is not for the faint-hearted. Have a backup plan or some other marketable skills so you're not up a creek if this industry does take its toll. Long hours, dangerous work environment, rampant substance abuse, hit pay, unless you've been in it forever, cripples your social life because of the hours and leaves you with being friends with the high-functioning alcoholic bartenders. I love cooking and am thankful for the experience, but never again. I dated a chef and it basically ruined our relationship. She would get out at like 11 or 12 at night, sometimes later. She worked weekends, was always stressed out or exhausted. We're still friends because we get along, but I couldn't be in a relationship with someone I never got to see or hang out with. My so is an attorney and isn't loving life right now. She says, you know how you did term papers in college? Well, I do term papers every day, all day, endlessly. I don't practice law anymore, but when I did I mostly did criminal defense and occasional civil cases. Almost all the attorneys I knew all had great professional lives and personal lives comprised of utter hit. Alcohol abuse was rampant. Drug use was frequent. I knew attorneys who had pharmacy drawers in their office that they consulted when they needed a specific remedy. I knew a public defender who dropped dead of a massive heart attack as he was leaving for court. One attorney I knew said he loved going to new restaurants because he and his wife didn't have sex anymore and that was his only real passion now. And I'm sure there are some attorneys who love their job. I'm sure there are men who are satisfied, but glamorous? Not in my experience. I don't understand why it became such a trend to depict lawyers as leading sexy, glamorous lives in shows like Suits and How to Get Away with Murder, etc. The reality is lonely, exhausting, sad, and the more successful you are the worse it gets. Suits is like 40% people walking into other people's offices angrily and saying, "What did you do?" I'm a lawyer. You deal with the bad days because the good days are pretty great. It's like Alzheimer's or an abusive relationship. Radio announcer. Like a lot of other jobs in the entertainment industry, it's full-time work for part-time pay. Second jobs are common. Your pizza delivery guy just may be your favorite morning show host. At least, that's how the morning guy at my station made ends meet, until he was laid off in the last round of cutbacks. Now we're a hybrid station, which is the preferred business model these days. That's a fancy way of saying one person does everything while you run a ton of syndicated programs, 12-hour days of minimum wage. Yes, on air for a few years, minimum wage only, since there's a ton of radio and television journalism graduates wanting your position who would do it for free. Veterinarian. Insanely competitive schooling that crippled you with debt, with a depressing debt-income ratio after graduation. Most of your patients don't like you, and most of the owners think you're getting rich upselling them unnecessary services when their dog's exploding eyeball cancer can be cured with raw organic exotic meat CBD coconut oil. But you're withholding that information because you're in bed with big kibble. High stress, stagnant wages, long hours, hit holiday leave, rampant depression, lost count of how many colleagues have committed suicide, sometimes tempted to join them. Please don't join them. I appreciate our pets' vets so much and would be heartbroken if I found out they hurt themselves. For what it's worth, I strongly believe the vast majority of us appreciate the hard work and dedication vets do for our four-legged family members. When I eventually get a pet of my own, I will be sure to let the vet know they're deeply appreciated. I don't know if nightmare is the word, but my wife has finally reached her lifelong goal of becoming a zookeeper at one of the top zoos in the US. She is very happy to have the opportunity to hand food to otters, have reindeer eat out of her hand, and brush okapi. However, she took on tens of thousands of dollars in student loans and did months of unpaid work at the zoo to get the job, which is seasonal, requiring she be off 2 months a year. She gets up at 4 AM and does farmhand style physical labor for 8 hours a day for about $9 an hour with no benefits. I am thrilled that she reached her goal, and I am happy that she is happy, but I am pretty disenfranchised with the whole thing. Former animal care guy, did some zoo work but more sanctuary and wildlife rehab work. The animals are rewarding, but for all the effort it takes just to get your foot in the door is crazy and the pay is not livable. At the last place I worked I also had horrible bosses. Sure, I could tell they cared about animals, but they had absolutely no people or management skills. I still don't understand how they got their current positions. I left the field, and while I miss the animals, I don't see myself going back because I like being able to buy things like food and toilet paper. Having the holidays off and not having to fight tooth and nail for a day off is nice too. Till all career paths appear to be nightmares. Political staffer. Most jobs in politics pay very little money and require you to work 80+ hours a week for a boss who is guaranteed to have a gigantic ego. You also have to look for a new job after every election day. This is just about the most depressing thread I've ever come across. Listen up, kids. Any job that seems glamorized has more than likely resulted in an oversupply of people wanting to do that work, while demand has not increased, thus bringing the compensation down for that line of work. Modeling. Too competitive and not enough food. Also, you will have to deal with a lot of fake people who took off the ground too much. I've started working in television from a too young an age. It was amazing to witness all the behind the scenes stuff, but the reality is that these days you just can't make enough money from performing on TV, let alone the deprivation of creative freedom, which is what got my show cancelled, I think. During her first seasons as the star of Law & Order, SVU, Mariska Hargitay could only afford a rat-infested apartment with exposed pipes in NYC. Flight attendant. The travel would be amazing. But let's face it, you're a glorified waitress working in a cramped aluminium tube. Edit because I said steel tube and turns out I'm dumb F. The worst part, in other customer service jobs, the problem customers eventually leave, either of their own volition or by being so over the top they get kicked out. Flight attendants are stuck with the jerks. And long hours. All the insane jet lag will duck up your body beyond imagination. Most career paths, glamorized or not, can be a nightmare if you have a hitlord for a boss. A good boss will make a crappy job manageable. A bad boss will make the best job in the world miserable. Farming on a large scale. I was living in debt up to my ass, $500 k $1 mil depending on the time of year, haggling for every input, land, fertilizer, seed, equipment, at the mercy of the weather, and got to watch the commodity markets kick me in the nuts every business day. The real cherry on top was everyone thinking you are trying to kill them with GMOs and copious amounts of chemicals that we don't use. Not to mention farms are passed down through generations, so you've got a bunch of dead and living ancestors watching your every move. Oh, and a lot of farmers work a second full-time job for the health insurance. There's a reason farm suicides are high and farm accidents are higher. There's a million young rural FFA kids that would give their left leg for a chance to farm. I'm 14 and you guys destroyed 94.7% of my hopes. I'm a professional, full-time voice actor. I'm blessed to be successful and happy. It's about 99% of the voice actors I know are depressed most of the time, struggling hard to find work, wrestling with imposter syndrome, questioning if they should give up, and barely able to make rent. Particularly video game animation actors. Edit. Really, this is true for most every creative freelancing career. Judging by this thread, all careers, also being unemployed or alive. The video game industry. A lot of kids and teens want in it so bad because I grew up playing games blah blah blah, they take me to another world blah blah blah. Then you become an adult and learn that it's all math and physics, and making a video game has nothing to do with what you experienced growing up. It's all black screens of code, polygons, and being criticized for your work. What's worse, if you make games you probably never have the time to play them anymore. The gaming industry is notorious for implementing 60-80 hour work weeks. Even worse, depending on what company you work for, you may never have stable work. You finish a project and then the company tells you we don't have another project for your particular skill set. Then you've got to look for more work. And if all that wasn't bad enough, you'll probably never work on a game you want to work on. All those big, fancy games and indie darling on Steam are a very small fraction of what exists. Barbie's Horse Adventure? Those people got degrees and we're inspired by the same games as you. Crappy Candy Crush knockoffs, same degree and inspiration. Stupid tabletop games that you only see in the family section at Walmart? Those also utilize game designers programmers. Don't get into video games because you like video games. Get into video games because you're passionate about math and science. Architect is really bad. Most people don't complete it and the mental health issues are quite serious. There's a lot of criticism and stress in the beginning. Lots of late nights and hard work. At the end of the work you get insulted in public. There's no real reason for this. You aren't going to be saving lives or anything. There's no need to make it so expensive either. So 3 years later, you get a degree and have to do a year of intern work. Then it's time for another year of study and projects and exams. Then 2 years of minimum wage work. Then you come back for more exams, essays and projects. It's really too hard for what it is. I get paid very badly and I don't really use any of my training. It was pointless really, but girls like it at parties when I say I'm an architect. That's a lie, I don't go to parties, I have no social life.